Find me something more satisfying than this. I'll wait. Alright, before we get started, I just want to say that some of the parts of this tutorial are going to be maybe a little advanced and maybe a little difficult to follow, just because they're kind of different techniques that you might not have used before. So what I recommend is watching the entire video one time, all the way through, and then go back to the different parts of the tutorial that you may need help with. Oh yeah, and please like, comment, and share this video if you wouldn't mind. That really helps me out, and if you haven't already done so, I'd really appreciate it if you guys subscribed. Alright, what's up everybody? We're going to start this just a little bit different, and what I'm showing you here is actually the end goal of what we're going to be working on today. I know it looks really complicated, but I'm going to work you through all the steps of getting this done, and we'll just move this off to the side for now. So I want to walk you through my design process a little bit, and when I'm designing stuff like this that's going to be like around other pieces of furniture or whatever it is, in this case a dog dish, I just start by drawing the shape of that dish. So the top of my dish I know is 7 3/16 of an inch. So I'm just going to draw this block and we'll make it 7.1875 long, and I'm not really worried about the height of it. And now I'll draw another rectangle that'll represent the bottom of my dish, which I know is 6 3/8, so we'll make this 6.375, and again I'm not worried about the height. And now what I'll do is draw another rectangle, and this one here I'm going to make 3.5 inches tall, and I can go ahead and move this to kind of space these apart. And now all I need to do is select the top rectangle and the bottom one, and I'm just going to align these. Now I can delete this, and now I'll just connect these nodes. Alright, and now I've got the outline of my bowl. So I can go ahead and delete these pieces. And this is just going to help me get the sizes of everything else that I want. Alright, for the total height of this thing, I want it to be about 7.5 inches tall. So I'm going to draw another rectangle, and I'm going to keep it 1 inch. I'm actually going to do 1.25 inch wide. And let's make it 7.5 inches tall. I can move this up to that corner. And I want this to kind of kick in a little bit. So what I'll do is just, again, I'm following these nodes. And I'm just drawing a little shape like that. And now I'll copy that triangle. And again, I just keep locking it into these nodes. So I just move it to the outside here. So now this inside one, I want to keep a sharp angle on it because I want it to kind of follow the shape of that bowl. But on this outside one, I want it to end up being a little rounded. So what I'm going to do is I'll select the triangle, click on this node edit mode, and I'll highlight that center node there. And if I click S on my keyboard, it'll change it to a smooth node. So you can see now that it's kind of rounded out. So now I just need to make this one shape here. So I'll select the rectangle, select this smoothed out piece here, which is the outside, and I need to do a Boolean subtraction. And then I've got the rest of this rectangle already selected. Again, I'll hold Shift, and I'll select this other triangle that I drew, and we're going to do a union on that one. So now I've got the basic design of one of these legs. And now what I can do is just copy it. I will flip it horizontally. I'll click this node here and lock it right to that node in the corner of the bowl. So now we need to make the piece that runs across the bottom of the bowl, and we'll just draw another rectangle. And this one, I just want it to be 1 inch high, and for the width, that's not really important right now, but let's make it just 10 even. All right, now I can go ahead and I'll click this bowl, and I'm just going to move it off to the side also. All right, so this middle piece is too long, and I can't just cut it off flat. I want to cut it off so it follows this outside shape here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple copies of everything here. So I'm copying the legs, I'm copying that center support, and I'm just clicking and dragging them and moving them until they overlap. So now I'm going to select this inside piece, hold shift, and I'm going to select this leg here, and I'm going to do a Boolean intersection. And what that's going to do is it's going to remove everything that doesn't intersect, so it'll only save this inside piece. All right, so now you can see what I've got. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy it, and I'll flip it, again horizontally, and I'm just going to click this corner node and drag it until it lines up on top of this one. And now the easiest thing to do here is just remove that rectangle, and all we're going to do is connect these random points here. And now I need to hold shift, and I'll select each of those two kind of squares that I made, and we're just going to do a Boolean union. So now I've got 3 pieces here. I've got the center piece, and I've got each leg. The next step is going to be to start laying out these half lap joints, and I've already done a file of that, and I put it on my website. And what you can do with this is resize to whatever you need. If you need it longer or you need it wider, you can make these adjustments. So this design here should be able to work with just about anything that you're trying to do. And I drew this up in Carbide Create just by starting out with a rectangle and drawing some triangles and using circles and basically doing what I'm doing in this demo. But I just saved this as a file on my website, so it'll kind of help you guys move along a little quicker. And the important thing is that we leave these all to be the same size, because you don't want a negative of this joint to be bigger or smaller than the positive of this joint is going to be. You need them all to be exactly the same. So let's go ahead and rotate this 90 degrees. And I'm just going to move it kind of into position where I want. And it's very important that we have the outside of this the same size as the outside thickness of this, and that we have them overlapped on top of one another. So now we can make another copy of that, flip it horizontally, and we'll just drag it over here so that it matches. All right, so now let's go ahead and just start grouping some pieces together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select each of these joints, and I'll just copy them and drag them down so they overlap one another. And then I'm going to select one of the legs, and I'll select the joint, and I'll do a group. And then I can just move that off to the side. And I'll do the same over here, select the leg, select the joint, group it together, and just drag it out of the way. And this just helps me keep this area kind of clear, so it helps me see what I'm really working with. All right, so these leg sections are super easy to cut out, but what gets a little complicated is these middle pieces. And what I'm going to do is just drag this one back in for a second so we can take a look at it. I've switched over to the toolpath tab, and you can see I've got a couple different pockets, and then I've got an outline. And basically what I've done is you need to remove half of the thickness of the leg from this, but you need it to be the shape of the leg. So we're going to have to see how we can draw that. Our next pocket just clears away the outline, and basically all I've done is drawn a rectangle around it, and then the outline is just a simple outline of the leg itself. So in order to come up with that piece that we cut out that follows the shape of this leg, but we need to remove from here, we need to make another kind of weird rectangle shape. I guess that would be kind of a rhombus. What we'll do for now is I'm just going to take this leg and copy it and move it back over. Now on this one, I can go ahead and ungroup those, and I'm going to get this joint out of the way. We don't need that for now. So basically all I need here is to be able to cut out a piece that's just slightly longer than this. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle around here. Now I'm going to select the leg, hold shift, select the rectangle, and I'm going to do another one of these intersections. See, and now I've got that extended piece, which we can machine out later. This may be a little confusing right now, but I promise it'll make more sense in the end. So now we can go ahead and bring those joints back in. And what I'll do is I'll make a copy of this little weird shape that I drew, flip it horizontally, and I'm going to click this node here, and I just need it to line up over this one. So all I'm doing is just making each side symmetrical. All right, now we can go ahead and select this entire piece here for this middle piece, copy it, and just drag it down. And what I need to do is make another little half lap, and this time we're just doing rectangular ones. So I'm going to go to the middle, and I need it to come up to the center of this board. So it's 1 inch wide, so it'll have to come up a ½ an inch to be half of it. And now I can change the width. And I'm using 3/4 inch material here, but it's important to note that that material doesn't actually measure 3/4 of an inch. It actually measures about 0.74. So we'll go ahead and click OK. And now what I want to do is change this here where it says square. I'm going to go to T. And we'll click apply. And now we're going to come over here to this radius, and let's change that to 0.1 and click apply. So what I've done here is I added these two little T's so that when the bit comes in and it's cutting this outline, it wouldn't be able to cut this sharp corner here. So that bit needs a place to go, and what it's going to do is it's going to come up into this little rounded corner of the T. So now that we've got this drawn, let's go ahead and copy this rectangle, and we're just going to drag it down so that the center lines up with the outside of this other piece. And we need one on the top and one on the bottom. Now what we can do is select our rectangle, hold shift, select this little shape that we've drawn, and do a subtraction. And then we'll do the same on the bottom. Select the rectangle, hold shift, select this other piece, and do a subtraction. So now we have two pieces here that can fit together to form that X brace. All right, so now there's one more thing that we have to do to this, and I know this is getting a little complicated, but we're going to draw one more rectangle that's going to line up with the outline of this joint that we've made. So the height is 1.5, which is good. Width will make 1.75. And we'll just grab this midpoint and lock it to the midpoint on the joint itself. And we'll go ahead and copy this 4 times. and just keep moving it so that all 4 of these joints have the rectangle drawn around them. So now we're all done with the design, and we just need to copy some stuff. We need 2 of these cross braces. So we can put them together like that, slide them off to the side, and we're actually going to need 2 of each of these legs. So let's copy that whole assembly. And then again, we'll move this one in. Copy that whole assembly. And I'm just laying these out close to one another just to kind of keep the machining a little simpler. So we'll move that off to the side. And then we'll take these pieces here and let's rotate them 90 degrees. And now we can go over to the toolpath tab. All right, so let's go ahead and make another group. And I'm just doing this for my demonstration because I've got these other pieces dragged off to the side. The first toolpath we're going to do is a pocket of each of these pieces here that need to be half of the thickness of our given material that we're using. So all of these toolpaths, all of these pockets will be cut half of the depth. And I'm going to do a contour. We'll use this 1/8 inch end mill. We'll change it to pocket. And I'm going to set my step over at 0.08. The depth per pass is 0.1. Feed is 100 and plunge is 80. And now I'll change this to 0.375. Now our next pocket is actually just to remove the material that's around these joints here. And the way we need to do this is we'll select the joint, hold shift, and then we'll select this rectangle that we drew around it. And we're going to do that for all 4 of them. And again, we'll go to contour. We're going to use that 1/8 inch end mill. Change my step over to 0.8. That just makes it run a little faster. Depth per pass, 0.1. Again, feed 100, plunge 80. And this one we need to come 0.75. Again, we'll change that to pocket. We'll just name that pocket 2. So you can see here, we're just removing the material that's on the outside of those joints. And there's different ways you could do this. We could have used like the Boolean tools and joined this rectangle with pieces of this shape, but it's really complicated to do it that way in my opinion. I just think this is a little bit easier way. This is at least a little bit easier way for how my brain works. So if it makes more sense for you to do it the other way, feel free to do it that way. And then all you would have to do is just one outline, which will remove all of this material. So now the last thing to do is select all of our just regular shapes here of our legs and then the cross braces. And for this, we'll click contour again, still using that 1/8 inch bit. So step over really isn't too important here because it's an outline. But depth per pass, we'll make 0.1 again. Feed rate 100, plunge 80. Okay. This is going to go the full depth, which is 0.75. We'll change it to outside. And we're going to add some tabs here. and that'll just keep everything from flying around. And I'm going to make the width 0.5 and the height 0.08, and we'll click OK. And now we'll name this outline. Now I'm just disabling my extra toolpaths here, and let's check this simulation out. And I'll go ahead and change my material thickness so that the rendering looks a little better. And now when we look at that, you can see how it's actually cut all the way through. Let's go ahead and cut this out. I'm going to do it just out of some scrap pine, the same stuff I make my flags out of. So let's jump into the CNC machine. So now that I've got everything cut free, I'm just going to do a little bit of sanding and use my oscillating belt sander just to clean off the tabs and any big pieces. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of 220 grit sandpaper and this razor blade to clean off like the little onion peel that's left. And that's just there because I didn't really go deep enough on this cut. So I'll test fit everything, and now that I know that I've got a good fitting model and everything works the way I want, and come back and remake this out of like a nice hardwood or something. And I mean, really, this pine model here that I've got came out great, so I could go ahead and stain that if I wanted. That's all we got for today. Thanks for checking the video out. Hope everybody's staying safe, and I will see you over on this next video.